UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
To all who listen to this happy podcast, this is Mickey's Marvels on the United Federation of Podcasts.
You can contact the network at contact at UFP Earth on Twitter, at UFP Earth, and on Facebook.
I'm your host, Magic, and join with me, as always, is my good friend Tribz. Tribz, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Magic. How are you?
I'm doing just great. So, unfortunately, we missed you for the first two chapters of this. We had a good stand-in, though. I mean, Brandon's really good, and or Bran, as we were calling him. And but it was, we missed you, and then unfortunately we're recording this on a Monday. We were planning on Friday, but I had a conference with work that I had to go to, so we're a little late here. But we're trying to get this out before the next episode drops.
Yeah, it was. I do apologize that I did miss the recording, but I did listen to it, and you guys did an absolutely fantastic job. If I can just add my 2 cents in for at least the series as a whole right now, to me, The Mandalorian seems to be some sort of a 24 type episode, and the reason, or it's 24 type series. And the reason why I say that is because as we step in, and we'll talk about it later on in the podcast, especially for this episode, it sounds to me like he's got a good side and a bad side to him, and which is uncommon for a bounty hunter. So he's got some conflict going on, which is much like we see in the series of 24.
Yeah, so I would kind of agree with that. The only difference I would make is he's just doing his job. Like, we just attribute Boba Fett as bad. And Brandon and I spoke about this. We attribute Boba Fett as being bad because he's going after Han Solo, right? Mm-hmm. But if he was just doing his job going after anybody else, we wouldn't consider that bad. He's just a bounty hunter. And as we see, most of these bounty hunters are going after bail jumpers.
Correct, yeah.
Well, if we didn't think Dog the Bounty Hunter was an evil person, did we?
No, but then there's something more. Again, we'll talk about this in the episode because it's starting to flesh out now. One of the things I love about this series is that there is no B-plot. It is strictly Mandalorian. It is strictly about the Mandalorian. There is no B-plot. And, a lot of people talk about, well, how long is a series supposed to last? And being that this is sadly just the first season, but it is 8 episodes, we're looking to see this story wrap up pretty quick, but I'm really hoping we get some content about what's going on in the rest of the episodes. Yeah,
so I'm glad you brought that up because I'm pretty disappointed it's only 8 episodes. I mean, I understand the TV is a lot shorter now. We're never going to see 24-episode seasons ever again. But 8 is very, very short. And to make matters worse, the episodes are really, really short.
Yeah, they're only 39 minutes, 38 minutes.
Chapter 2 is 32 minutes.
Right. You wish it was kind of longer. But then again, it goes back to how long do you need to tell the story? What is missing that you need to explain a lot more? So it's kind of a catch-22. We all would love 24 episodes. We all would love episodics. We all would love little standalones in it. But when you have something like this, and sadly, Game of Thrones has spoiled it for TV today, where they have the overarching thing and this is what we watch, and that's it. And it's really spoiled it for us that have grown up in a generation where we've had episodic, where we've had a long story drawn out and come back to last a whole season.
Right, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, so instead of complaining, let's talk about the good stuff we did get in Chapter 3, The Sin. So we're following this motif. Chapter 1, no title. Chapter 2, The Child. Now Chapter 3, The Sin.
Yes.
So you said you listened to Brandon and I. It didn't take long for the show to prove Brandon and I both extremely wrong. Because one of the main things we held was that once he started having those flashbacks and saw for lack of a better term, Baby Yoda, which it's looking more and more like Brandon's theory is correct, that it's clone Yoda.
Yeah.
Because, and we'll get into it, but what we just assumed he was never bringing the baby in. That was it. That he was just gonna keep the baby and protect him, and within 4 minutes he was turning him in for the bounty.
Right, and you know, it's part of his job, but no, nonetheless, in the back of his head, and he mentions this in the episode too, is what's going to happen to him, and that's where we find out, and that's where the good, you could say in quotes, the good bounty hunter comes in, or the one with the conscience. We'll put it that way.
Right. So instead of just doing his job here, he has a conscience. And we don't know if any other bounty hunters do. I mean, we know a lot of them in this particular scenario don't, because they're willing to, basically fry a baby. But we don't know if they were in the same shoes as he was, handing him in, if they could still do it. We don't know if their conscience would kick in or not. They're just looking at it as, well, now he's basically a bounty. Yeah,
he's just basically just another bounty hunter doing his job, as he's seen through the other's eyes.
Right, and they hate him now. And like, what's his name said? The guy who gives him the job tickets, basically the pucks.
Yeah,
Apollo Creed,
Gecko, Geffo, Jeffo.
Yeah,
Apollo Creed.
Yeah, Apollo Creed. So now I'm really glad that Rocky beats you senseless. But
I'm great. You're a great fighter.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he basically says to me, they hate you here because you're a legend now. And when he asked, we talked about this in the last episode of this podcast. And I had thought, and I was wrong, but I had thought that the Mandalorian had gotten his job from the one guy that he turned him into, right? And then you saw that the bounty droid was intent on killing the baby. So I had thought, well, he must have gotten his job from someone else. So there's multiple people searching for this baby. But it turns out, no, they all got the job from the same person. The droid just didn't care if he only collected half.
Okay, right. Sorry. Yeah, it's, again, bounty hunters, it's all for, they don't all work together. It's all for themselves. So this is where you kind of get the moral or the conscience put in, that everybody goes after the same product for the same price.
Right, but did you think that they both had bounties from the same person?
That could be possible.
Because to me, when they found Baby Yoda in the end of Chapter 1, it was pretty clear to me that the droid was just going to kill the baby right off the bat. So it seemed like his bounty was to eliminate Baby Yoda. Mm-hmm. And the Mandalorian shoots and kills him. But it was pretty clear that while he hedged his bets and said, well, you can get half if he comes back dead, the other guy was like, oh, no, we need him alive. And it's even said in this episode, the orders were for him to be alive. And the guy's like, well, I can't protect you anymore. When Mando is looking through his sniper rifle and using his helmet to see inside the building and listen to their conversation.
Right.
So I found it very odd that we do find out that all of the bounty hunters got the job, but not all of them got the same requirements, or that the droid really didn't care if he only got half. He didn't want to make his life hard, so he was just going to kill the baby and drag him back.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see your point there, and it's kind of, I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to it. Really, I think there is something underlying, something really is going on, and there's something about Baby Yoda, or Yodito as I like to call him affectionately. There is something about him that's special that they want, and they want for themselves. And I think we'll find that out as it'll flesh out towards the end of the series.
Yeah, so and in my opinion, it's got to be that he is a clone of Yoda. That's how in my head it is. Or it could be his midi-chlorian level that they're going to start finding again. Maybe there's something to do with that. Because clearly he can use the Force at, 50 years old, which is like 6 months for us. But I don't know. I think moving on to another topic here, though, I think the world building we're getting out of this is actually amazing because we now have the Guild, right? Mm-hmm. And the Guild is the organization that are the bounty hunters. And they're not all Mandalorians. Then we have the Mandalorians, which are a race from a planet called Mandalore. Mandalorian, I
believe.
And then we have the tribe, which is the particular tribe that this Mandalorian, Mando, is from. And it appears that something I said earlier, and Brandon had talked about in the first episode, is becoming correct. That at the very least, his particular tribe of Mandalorian are all foundlings.
Yes. It's a very interesting thing that we're starting to build now. It's episode 3, first season, first third of the series. So we're starting to explore Mando and where he actually belongs.
Right, his societies, his multiple societies group.
His multiple societies are where he belongs and where he's true to.
Right.
Because you have the Guild, like you said, you have the Guild, you have the tribe, and you have the Mandalorians. And this is where I think we're going to start seeing some sort of conflict going on to where what does he feel? What does Mando feel is right? Who does he go to? Now, he goes to the Guild for the credits. He goes to his people for the armor. And he has the tribe itself. Am I saying that right? Edit.
No, we haven't really seen the race, the Mandalorians, other than his tribe, but I believe those two are separate. So, for instance, we're Earthlings, right? But Correct. You and I are Americans, and then there's Canadians, and then there's Mexicans, and then there's English and French and whatever. So,
sure.
So like, extrapolating it down, obviously saying that, oh, well, we're all Americans it's a very large tribe, but you get the point. You know what I mean? So
sure.
There's probably different tribes on Mandalore, and maybe by where they were, where they live, or what mountain range they're in, or whatever. So he's part of a specific tribe of Mandalorians, and it would appear that his specific tribe, at the very least, are all foundlings.
Yeah. They're all part of the...
Which are orphans. I mean,
right.
They're using the word foundling, and it's just a really weird word for orphans.
Yeah, now that you look at it, because we start to see a timeline establish. We start to see a timeline established now as to how he becomes the bounty hunter.
Right, and we're actually seeing flashbacks. So, when they were smiting his new armor, which, by the way, his new armor looks sharp. That looks nice. So when they're smiting that, though, he's getting flashbacks of when his parents were killed and the droid that found him. I think that was a droid anyway.
It looked like one.
Yeah. So now we're starting to see like why he has this conflict about Baby Yoda or Yodito. Because he himself is a foundling, and this Yodito is a foundling.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost as if he sees himself through little Yodito's eyes.
Right.
My question is, if I can interject, the timeline. Now, we know this to be 5 years past Jedi.
Correct.
Just before the creation of the First Order. So...
Yes, in the early stages.
In the early stages of... So the question is, how old is Mando? Because it looks to be, and if I'm not mistaken, it looks to be he's like 6 or 7 when he's abandoned, or when his parents are killed. Okay, so that would make... I was trying to do the math, and I couldn't figure it out exactly where in the timeline he would fit to be born into. If this was...
Well, you got to assume he's probably similar to the age of Yodito, right? I mean,
you would think, yeah.
40, maybe 10 years younger, so he was born right around... Well, depending on the math you use. So I heard that the events here are 5 years after Jedi, right? which would